Good morning. Welcome to our Live Talk program. This is Lloyd Grubb here, your host on the Revive Reform Radio, doing our Live Talk program covering financial health or finance on this Tuesday. So, switching the format here, and we'll be doing finance on Tuesday and then religion on Friday. So, I'm looking at a topic solve financial problems with current established solutions. So, thought I'm looking at here today is solve financial problems with current established solutions. And so, this is our process of meditation for this day. Welcome again. Let us pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, I thank you, dear Lord, for your blessing and your mercies towards us. In the way that you continue to lead us along in this life, I pray that you may bless us, dear Lord, that we might truly always be diligent in business and in our personal finance. May you be with us, we pray, for Christ's sake. Amen. So I'm looking at this topic here again, which is solving financial problems with current established solutions. So the solutions that are there, you want to be able to use the solutions that are already in existence because these are solutions that came about because of people trying to figure out a way. Sorry, there's people try to figure out a way how to solve a problem, and these things make life more easy to do because they are actually well established. So this is what I want to communicate to you as I do this live talk program today. And so we start with our theme again that we're doing for this week, where we start off this so far yesterday, which is our life is better when we solve problems and overcome challenges. It is part of our purpose in life. So our purpose in life, or purpose for life, is to be able to overcome challenges. And when we overcome these challenges, it makes our lives much better. And so it makes us live a very successful life. So part of the way of overcoming challenges is to just deal with the regular solutions that are already there instead of trying to find new solutions. First, we master the solutions that we already have that is available to us that other people use. As always, think in my mind that if I'm having a problem, many people before as I have this problem, and many people currently are having this problem. And so if that's the reality, then I simply need to just go ahead and try to master the solution that they use to solve their problem. And then, we'll be all right. And so this is what we want to be able to do today. And this is what I'm focused on with you today. So our main text has been Daniel chapter 5, verse 12. Daniel 5, verse 12, simple state, for as much as an excellent spirit and knowledge and understanding, interpretation of dreams and showing of hard sentences and dissolving of doubts were found in the same Daniel, whom the king named Belteshazzar. Now let Daniel be called, and he will show the interpretation. So here you have the story of the handwriting is on the wall. And the handwriting on the wall is still a metaphor that we use when we realize that something bad is about to happen and you see some very important sign telling you that something bad is about to happen or to go down. And so sometime in our financial life, we can see that the handwriting is on the wall and we need to take hold of our financial situations. So today I'm going to share some very basic ideas of what to do to take care of your financial situation, which is you always start with the basic. You always go back to, the basic foundational, fundamental things. And when you do this, then you can slowly take control of your financial destiny and your current situation. And so in Daniel, when it many translation or some translation use the word, the concept, the phraseology of when he says dissolving doubts, which is to solve another rendering of that is to solve difficult problems. And so finance is something that we have to deal with because the Lord tells us in the beginning, and we're going to deal with this in the future, that by the sweat of your brow you shall eat bread. Now, how you do that and the methodology you do that is not given to us, but it is something that we must do. And so over the lifetime of humanity, they've come up with different ways of being able to organize work, organize labor. And so you go out there, you make your money. But whatever money you make, you have to figure out how to make the money and then how to spend that money. And some jobs can be very seasonal. Some jobs are very yeah, systematic. You know, it's always needed, and you do it, and however you do it, you make your money. So for me, what I've learned is that when you deal with like financial solutions, what you're doing is you're trying to almost smooth the curve, and you're trying to figure out how to take the money you earn and the things that you have as value, equity, all of that, and how to use them to be able to take care of your financial situation. So this is the process to me of life, and the better you get at it is the better your life is, because what it is, you just get better at managing your money and make your money go further, which is the main aim of all of this. Everything actually, what we do is resource management. Not only our body, our mind, our time, our finances, our assets, everything is always resource management. So this is important, and this is why I really needed to be doing these talks for you to be able to broaden what we do here, or what I do here. And this is a major focus of mine, but I've not really spent much time talking about it with you. So notice here, so an excellent spirit was found in Daniel. He had knowledge, he had understanding, and he could interpret dreams, and he could showing off hard sentences and dissolving doubts or solving difficult problems. And so in our lives, this is what it is. Daniel was a manager. He was basically second in charge of just about any kingdom that he was in. So Daniel had to deal with the regular stuff that people in a municipality or in a home or in a state, of whoever run a state or in a nation. He was dealing at the national level, and so at the national level, you deal with more vexing problems because you're dealing with the problems of the whole country. And yet Daniel was able to do this job excellence. So when we talk about especially prophecy, we're talking about in the Bible wealth management, increase being the head, not the tail, is always part of it, because you're dealing with families and deal with whole kingdom. And so this is important. So we will flesh this out as we go along. So we find also that we broaden this thought now with Daniel in Daniel chapter 6, verse 1. Now, Daniel is he's gone from now what we call modern day Iraq to Iran. And he's in Iran now, which is where we call the Medes and the Persians. For the most part, I think the Medes are probably disappear. What we hear more about now is the Persians. So it's with the Persians, modern day Iran, where the West has a major problem with today. And he's over there, and this is also the place where we understand geographically Abraham, which they call their father, is from. And in Daniel chapter 6, verse 1 through 1 to 2 and 3, it says, "And it pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 princes, which should be over the whole kingdom." So in our modern time in America, I think we have 100 princes. So he set up 120. So he had 20 more than what we have in America. So you can imagine that's I would assume they would be not they wouldn't have 300 million people to manage, but he had 120 kings, and this was not in a time of we have modern what do you call it, we deal with travel and stuff like that. Travel has increased, and we have technology. So then he had 120 over Iran, and then he has Daniel. Well, we're going to read that in a second. So today we have two senators or princes for every state. So we have two princes in every state, and so we have 100 in America. I think that's my calculation. So and then the dukes and duchesses, I guess, are the Congress people. So notice here in verse 2, and it says, "And over these three presidents, of whom Daniel was first, that the princes might give account unto them, and the king should have no damage." So depends on your translation. It would read "suffer no loss," right? So when it says "have no damage," most translation renders that something along the line of "suffer no loss." So what's the setup? So they go a little bit more complex, right? So in our system here in America, we do I think 400 and something Congress people, and then 100 princes or senators, and then we have, the cabinet for the president, and then we split it a little bit more because we have the judiciary, and then we have the executive branch, which is the president and his cabinet. So we have a layered system also. So dependent system, we say we have a system that people vote and stuff like that, but it's simply management. This is how you select your management. So here, Dario says it's interesting. He sets it now because remember, you don't want to suffer loss. So when we talk about financial management and using financial solutions, these are just solutions. These are just human capital, and you're deploying human capital so that you can get good results, right? But normally they say that the people in the Congress and the Senate, they are lawmakers, which is true because if you know the story of Daniel in Daniel chapter 6, it's about laws, right? But all of these things are principles and laws. Everything you're going to do in your personal finance is principles and laws and rules. And if you do it in a business, it's just rules. And, as I say, accounting methods are just that's all they are. They're just methods to deal with, just methods to deal with finance, right? So if you deal with these methods, it's just a method and it's a rule. But here, the main reason now, Darius gives a very good reason. Why do you do these things personally, and why would a country do these things? Why is all this human capital being deployed and arranged in a certain way? Well, it's arranged in a certain way because you want to make money, but you don't want to lose money. And I realize a lot of things in life you do is you focus on not losing money. And you have to focus on making money, but you have to focus on retaining money. So some of these things, what we're doing, we're trying to make, we want to try to literally stretch the dollar. I don't know if you stretch a dollar, it will tear, but the figure of speech, you try to stretch it, right? So notice again, I'll say this again. He has 120, and in the future we'll come back to this. So I won't stay here too long, but he has 120, right? And then he has 3. So you can see the system there that he's setting up. So the 120 report to the 3, and then the 3 reports to him. All right. And this is all management and all systems really work. There's always a system of, breaking it down, so to speak, so that you cannot. But the aim notes is that he will not, he shall have no damage, or we can translate that he can suffer no loss. So anything you're doing when it comes on to your financial management and arrangement is simply that, number one, you don't want to suffer loss because you're making money. There's no reason to have a budgeting software, which I'm going to get to in a second, if you're not making money. So obviously, we start with the premise that obviously you're making money, right? So how to manage that money and how to not suffer loss is the aim. So 120, and then 3. Daniel is now number 1. That means that Daniel answers primarily to the king. The other 3 answers, 2 other answers to the king also, but Daniel is the main guy. That became a problem with Daniel. So he already knows, Darius knows that Daniel did well for the golden kingdom. So if you want to bring the best in to make a kingdom do well, you bring over these people so that you don't suffer loss. And we do this today in our world. So Daniel was in Jerusalem. Daniel was part of the, I guess, royal line or part of the upper echelon. Daniel now is brought over to Babylon. Babylon uses the best from various different kingdoms to build up his kingdom. Normally we call it brain drain, right? So what it is, you have different kingdoms, and the kingdom that does the best really is the kingdom probably that does the best brain drain. So you get the best and the brightest from various different colonies, kingdoms, empires. You bring them to your empire. They build you up because an empire, really, the value of any empire is the human capital, right? Human capital creates stuff, makes stuff. And, the gross domestic product of a country is not its factories per se. It's the people that works in the factories, people that own the factories. That's the human capital. So countries are just, gross domestic product is just really an establishment of what each person earning capacity can be, or capital can be, and what they can do and what they bring in art and in all different type of stuff. So side note, so everything that you're doing in life, you personally is capital. and you are trying to manage your capital that you own and yourself, your skills, your talents, your whatever. You could have a talent management. Well, you can be your own talent and you can manage your own talent. That's basically where my point I'm going here. So this here is he has three presidents, and that is the first that he might that the princes, so this would be the senators now, or so, might give an account to them. So they would have to give account to the in America the cabinet of the president unto them, and the king should have no damage, should suffer no loss, because you're suffering losses. So that's why when you look at certain things, they'll have auditing. Why? Because they don't want to suffer loss, and so somebody might be stealing or mismanaging, and you say, listen, we have to fix that mismanagement. Then this Daniel was preferred above the presidents and the princes because an excellent spirit was in him, and the king thought to set him over the whole realm. So that means if there was probably 120, and so they would say they would, I don't know, say there would be 30 per, say, four province as an example, and then they break it down like that, and then the three are say 40 per province, and then the three main guys control three of the province, and then he said, no, let Daniel control the whole thing. Thus would be an idea of what that text is saying. So he controlled the whole country, and then everybody gives to him, it comes to him, and then the president or the king makes the decision. So similar situation will happen. So everything that we're doing is always about, and the better you get at financial management, and the more you improve, I improve, is the better the resources we have. We not only account for it and we don't lose stuff, but we always be on top of our game, and we understand what it is. It will be like if you know that you need certain things, well, there's certain time of the year, I need this thing all the time, but there's certain times of the year it goes on sale. If you have and I'll deal with this in a few minutes, if you have a financial management, what you can do, you can know that you only buy that product at a certain time of the year, the time of the year that it goes on sale, and then you buy it by bulk. So that money that you're going to save when you buy it at the right time, because timing is important in these things. You don't have to make that money. Or if you make the money, you don't have to spend it in that way. You can spend it somewhere else. Does it make sense? So this is where budgeting, and I'm gonna get into it in a second, becomes important. So everything is about loss, and everything is about you earn money, but you want to spend the least amount of money you can. And when you do life like this, then it just becomes better for you. So I'm gonna read the text I read yesterday. That's important. In Proverbs chapter 18, verse 15. Proverbs 18, verse 15. And Proverbs 18, verse 15 states that the heart of the prudent getteth knowledge, and the ear of the wise seeketh knowledge. So we're always on the prowl looking for this type of stuff. Why? Because as I say, it's gonna benefit you and I greatly, because it's either we don't have to make the money, or when we make money we keep more, right? Anyone that is doing good finance or do well for themselves, no matter how rich or poor you are, middle class, whatever it is, that it is not just the money that you make, it's the money that you retain. You want to be able to maintain or retain as much as you make. And the better you get at retaining that money and counting your pennies, so to speak, then it is better for you. So you want to learn principles that make you hold on to that money. So prudent, as I covered yesterday, marked by wisdom and marked by wisdom or judiciousness. Shrewd in management of practical affairs. So we're supposed to be prudent because we're supposed to be shrewd in management of practical affairs. So especially our personal affairs has to be managed. Cautious, discreet, thrifty, frugal, showing good judgment in avoiding risk and uncertainties. So you want to stick and master what is already established. This is why I believe in dealing with things that are very established. And you want to master them, because there's a reason why somebody went through the headache of building certain things, because they realized this is needed. A good and careful judgment when handling practical matters. So a person that's prudent, and the Bible says that the heart of the prudent getteth knowledge. Why? Because the more we get and the more we do these things, the better we become. And a person that's wise will gain knowledge. You want to basically use it. So you want to use what is already there. And when you do this, then you become better in your practical affairs. And you want to be the best when it comes on your practical affairs. And so that's what we do. So solve personal financial problems with current established solutions. In First Timothy chapter 4, verse 13, First Timothy chapter 4, verse 13 through 16, we read, I read. So till I come, this is Paul now speaking, giving a very important instructions to Timothy, a younger man, and he's giving instructions of what works. So I'll introduce what I'm saying here. So this is what works, right? So you always want to stick with what works because you do it because it works and it works and it works. And it's been working for thousands of years. Is a reason why luminaries, people that are wise, people that are spiritual, people that are successful, the best people, as I said, when we study the Bible, we're studying the most successful people that at the time of the writing of the Bible, during the hundreds of years, they were the most successful people that their history was written down. So you study them, you study people that were very successful in multiple discipline, in multiple areas of life. That's why when I do the talk program, I realize that I need to do finance because you have to be successful in multiple areas of your life. It's a three-dimensional, so to speak, discipline that we attain to. So here he's telling them as a person, as a young preacher, so to speak, a young pastor, how to be successful. I want to use these principles here. I'm going to use these principles here to basically explain to you that you use what works and you do what works because there's a reason why people do this because it does work. And if you do it, it will work. Notice here, till I come, give attendance to reading, to exhortation, and to doctrine. So he's saying this is the method. You follow this method, you get good success. There's methods that we follow in various different disciplines in our lives, and we get good success. Like the Bible said, there's a time and a place for everything. And so you follow certain things, there's a reason why people do it. And people who are successful do this, and they do it until it hurts, so to speak. Notice it says here, neglect not the gift that is in you, which was given thee by prophecy with the laying on of the hands of the presbytery. So multiple people laying hands and say, I see there's something in you, and they even say prophesy. So I mean, say somebody saw something that divinely revealed that said this young man here is going to do good things. Notice here, so he said, don't neglect this. You know, you need to cherish this gift. You have a gift there, son. And this is important when it comes on to just about anything in life, when it comes on to earning. Because you could have a gift that you can neglect. So that's important for your financial success. There's things you do that you either over the years you have got good at and it's became a gift, so to speak, or a talent in that sense. Or you have something that's what I would call a gift, but this gift that you have is something that you naturally have a knack for. You didn't develop it, you didn't train it, you didn't got taught it. It's just something that you just do. And it could be something that brings you do it as a hobby, that brings you great satisfaction and reward, but you don't make money for it. Or something that you do and you make phenomenal money or good money for it. But it's not something that you basically, it just comes natural. And so he would say in this situation, to me, that's because remember, when we talk about finance, the obvious finance that we deal with or the obvious management that we're dealing with is our wealth. And most of what we talk about as wealth, unless we inherited something, like somebody bequeathed a house or money to us or something, antique, most of what we're talking about as management, it starts with you. So that's where, for me, I see it as a multidiscipline because you are without your health, without your brain, without the skills of your hand, the skills of your brain, the talents, the gifts that you have, you can't do the first step, which is to make money. So you have to manage that, right? So we always start there. The gross domestic product of a country is the people, the gifts and the talents of the people, whether they be natural or acquired. So we all have talents that we make money with, and we do things with it that bring, as I say, bring us joy, bring others joy, and sometimes bring us money. He says, I'll read it again. In verse, he said, neglect not the gift that is in thee, right? So you can't neglect this. You have to develop this and you have to make it better and you have to protect it. So if somebody, as I say, had the gift of art or developed it, so it was not natural, it was acquired. You can't neglect it. You have to basically feed this thing and make it become something great. If you have something that you do that really brings you joy, but it's not something you make money with, but it brings you great wealth, satisfaction in life, quality of life increase because of this. He's saying, listen, this is something from the Lord. This is not, or this is something that's going to be of great value to you and others. Really cherish this thing. So when we talk about anything to do with finance, we're really talking about primarily wealth management, wealth creation, and increasing that. And part of our wealth is our things that sometimes don't bring us any financial. There's no money from it. It just bring great value to us and to others around us. And so you say, listen, that gift you have, take care of it. So this is in that sense that would be something spiritual, right? So it says here, neglect not the gift. So we want to deal with that and deal with it until I'm gonna keep dealing with that with you. And notice here, meditate upon these things, right? So he said you also have to think on these things, right? Yeah, he said meditate upon it. So when we do meditation, our meditation in the biblical sense is not the absence of thought, but it's a presence of thought. So you're I don't want to say engross the mind, but you're making the mind go over certain things. Like for me to do these talks, I think on it. I have to have a concept in my mind that I'm going after. And so if you listen to me, I almost know, I don't use notes per se. I sometimes use notes because most of it is just stuff rambling around in my head as I go through my day. And so I have to meditate on stuff. That's how my process is. But some people, they have to write stuff out. And that could be a gift because then they can be probably more precise than me. But if you listen to me here, you kind of have to sit with me as I try to get through these thoughts because that's how my brain work. I kind of meditate on stuff. So just telling you here are my processes. So if you hear me, it's not that I'm not trying to write stuff down. It's just I just do a lot of thoughts. So it's just my flow. Other people flow differently, and I'm amazed by how they do it. I recognize there's something different in the way their brains work. Just this is how my brain work. I just sit and think about stuff all day long. So notice here, meditate upon these things and give thyself wholly to them that thy profiting may appear to all. So important here before because I'm still have to go to my list here of things that I want you to be practicing when it comes on to financial management. But notice here he says that say, I want you to think on these things. I want you to get up and just think about them. Think about, reading. Think about exhortation. Think about doctrines. Think about the gift that you have. You seem to have a gift, and we prophetically testify to that, and people lay hands on you and say, son, you really have a gift of ministering. You've seen when they do ordinations and stuff like that, the presbytery laying hands on people and say, man, you have the gift of pastoring and stuff like that. So you see that, right? So he's saying, meditate upon this. And notice he says here, give thyself wholly to them. So he said, listen, commit to these things because there's something in you, son. And that thy profiting may appear to all. So the more he does this is the more when he preach the word, when he counsel people, blah, blah, people might say that there's something special because you're developing it. Because natural or acquired talents, gifts that one has, the more you fine tune it, is the more people see that there's something special. Because I can see something special in somebody, but I've seen people where there's something special in them and they practice it, and in a few years it becomes better. They don't become better at it because they've put time into it. They've kind of think about it. When you think about stuff, your concepts, ideas come to your mind. And then there's things that people acquired. They learn it. They probably learn it by practicing it with somebody. They went to school, whatever. And the more they practice it, they just get better till after a while, it sort of even seem like it's a natural talent. They just become a natural at it. I'm sure you've heard people say that. So when it comes on to your financing, this is part of your financing. This is how you want to do life. That whatever I'm telling you here today, the more you practice it, you will amaze yourself that you just become better. You become a master at this. But it takes time. But you see, that time and that practice will make it better. So he says now to Timothy, when people see you doing your thing, they will that they may that thy profiting may appear to all. So people be like, man, I see you growing there, son, daughter. I see you. I see what you're doing. And but they can't see it. It's not like you have to tell them. You've been in that situation where somebody have to make it be known what it is. But when somebody develop a talent, the moment you see they start executing their talent, you say, oh yeah, that's something special. They take care of the business. They're just better at what they do. And any job you're going to work to do today, that's basically what you're doing. The longer you wait with your skill, with a natural acquired, you could be doing something for your work and you did not have a knack for it when you start. But you practice and you meditate, you do your thing, and give it 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, so forth. You just start getting better and better at it. And it becomes your capital, your worth, and your value, because the value, although somebody pay you in dollars, the value is not the dollars. It's just the measurement of how they're paying you for what the value you bring. But then now I'm going to tell you that you take the money that you make from your talent that people see you profiting, and you want to be able to develop another skill, which is to manage that money. You're managing both your talent as what you have to make money, but you're managing the money that you receive from that talent, and you become better. And you've seen people gone from a hobby to something full time because they're doing it as a hobby. And somebody said, "Man, you do that so well. I need that. I need you to do that for me." And you'd be like, "Okay." And they say, "Oh, I'll pay you for it." Okay, let's do it. Right? But this is something that you just did casually. And after a while, you did it so much that you become like something that has become a skill. Remember, a skill is just something that, whether you're natural or acquired, you just have a very good knack for it, and you've become very talented. And there's a lot of people, as I say, their full-time job was a talent at one point. I mean, a hobby at one point. It's something that they did, and they become good at it. Or something that they did as an apprentice, and they become good, and now they're managing. So notice here, take heed unto thyself and unto the doctrine, which are the teaching, continue in them. For in doing this, thou shalt both save thyself and them that hear thee. So he said, listen, this is how you want to approach it, because you will end up saving thyself and those that listen to you. Because at the end of the day, Timothy want to get to heaven, right? So he wants to be saved in the kingdom, and ultimately you give what you have. So if you're doing a process that works, and this process at work, you're going to be teaching the process that work, and ultimately blessing those. So when we practice anything to do with our finances, what we're doing, and when I say finances, it's just wealth management. And that's probably the best way to describe it, because when we talk about wealth management, our primary wealth is us. People always say your health is your wealth. Why? Because you're going to work today. If you're sick, you can't go to work. Obviously, it's just the talent management is more complex than just having skills, because you have to be healthy. Your brain can't work if you're not healthy. So that's why we don't believe in taking any stimulants and anything that can alter the function of the brain. We take things that can enhance the function of the brain, so we can become better at what we do, to basically, because we're wealth management, or primary wealth, as I say, the most expensive thing I own, I didn't buy it, which is my physical body, right? And so this is the most expensive machinery that I have. And so I try to take care of it. And that's wealth management. That's tomorrow. So Proverbs chapter 22, verse 29. Proverbs 22, verse 29 says, seest thou a man diligent in business? He shall stand before kings. He shall not stand before mean men. So this text is very important. As you know, this is probably one of the most fascinating texts, or most known texts in the Bible when it comes on to prosperity, when it comes on to diligence and prosperity, because the race is not for the swift, it's for those who are diligent. So who is diligent? Well, it described the diligent person and the results of them. But we know, we were talking about Daniel, that Daniel was diligent in business. He was diligent in business, and he literally stand before kings, literally. Very fascinating. So he become our good example of what wealth management is and financial success. And notice in Proverbs 22, verse 29, again, I read again for you. Thou, see thou a man diligent in business. So that means meticulous, methodical, and so forth in business. So you look at a person as that. And so in this life, as I say, we only have so much time and so much brain power. So we use the technology that we currently have. And we use ledgers and stuff like that to be able to be meticulous in business. Most actually, when Daniel was doing this, these technology wasn't there, but I'm assuming more brain power, and he was meticulous, and he was able to grasp and dissolve doubts or dissolve solve serious problems. So notice we say here again, see as a man that diligent in business, he shall stand before kings, and literally, he shall not stand before mean men. That means people broke. And that's our process here. Our process here is true financial success. So some current tools now that I want to talk about that some of them I use, some of them I use mentally. And then some of them I use on almost sometimes, not a daily basis, but close to it, the weekly basis. So I'll read through the list that I have here for you first, and then I'll talk about them individually because these are things that you might already use all of them, or you might need to add one or two in your arsenal when it comes on to financial or wealth management or financial management. So a check-in ledger or a checking account is probably number one, right? If you have money in the bank, which you hopefully you doing that like that, then you normally have to have a check ledger. So that's the obvious. So I start with the obvious. Then budgeting software, spreadsheet. I used to use a budgeting software. Now I just use a spreadsheet. I just use an Excel spreadsheet. Financial planning for major life events. Paying off smaller debts first or higher interest ones first. Online or automated payment methods. Cash flow for seasonality of life and events. Buying bulk and keeping an inventory list of regular items, retirement planning, and then multiple streams of income. Those are some of the main things that normally I think about. So as you hear me go through the year, you see me go back to some of these things. They are important, and so now I'll go through and explain some of them. So obviously, you know what a check ledger is. Basically, and for this, I don't even use I do it online. I mean, online on, I use an Excel spreadsheet. I just use, income, money in and in a checking account, and then I balance it on an Excel spreadsheet. So I don't know how you do your financial or you do your check ledger, but I just do it on an Excel spreadsheet. And so I just look at what's online and checks in and whatever coming in, whatever payments. And then I manage it on a check ledger, just on an Excel. So just a simple Excel spreadsheet. So just subtract and add. And that's it. So this is important, most naturally. This is the basics and it's important. So nothing fancy there. But this is important to always keep track of how much money you're spending and how much money going out. And then also, I use a check ledger on the Excel so that I can quickly just go by and look back. Sometimes I go back a year, not just when I'm doing my taxes, but I go back a year and just check to see what I spent on something, because it's important to note, because there's some things that you spend on. It could be seasonality, right? I'll deal with that in a second. So if you're dealing with seasonality, right, the obvious thing for you to do is to really have a budget, because then the budget will take in account the whole year, and then you can see how you spend seasonality. Because something you can't really remember, what did I spend on in spring? But I can normally, because I have everything, I can just go back 1 year, 2 years, and look, what did I spend on last year in spring, the year before in spring, so I can have an idea. Okay, what's coming up, and then you set your budget like that, which is the next thing. And so that's what that is. So you can just go back and check and then see where it's at there. If a bill goes up, you can say, well, what was I paying? So it's always good to know, what did I pay all year long for electricity? Well, what did I pay the first 3 months, the next 3 months? What did I pay in the summer? So forth and so on. So you do your budget. So in order for to me to do a budget, to me you need a check ledger, so you know how much money you spend, so you can have a very good idea. Because remember, the whole idea is to equalize the 12 months, and you're trying to equalize it so you have an idea. So that means, because you could, and I'm sure you experienced this, you could have a situation where for 2 months you have more money than you really spend. But if you don't have a budget, which is the next thing, a budgeting software or spreadsheet, I use a spreadsheet, I use it as a software, then what will happen to you that you can't be diligent, because then the 2 months you might not remember that the next 2 months you're going to be in the deficit, right? Because there's some bills coming up and some spending coming up, that those 2 months really you didn't have extra money. The extra money is for those next 2 months. So that's what budgeting software is. It just equalize the year, and it makes you can get a see ahead by looking backwards, because we don't know what tomorrow brings, but we know what yesterday was. So to get an estimate of what my spending is going to be, and there's always going to be things prop up that you just have to do miscellaneous. So in all budgeting software and everything, I always do $100 here, $100 there for this miscellaneous, that miscellaneous, because things are just gonna come up, like things break that you can't plan for breakage and stuff like that, unless you knew. Because sometimes you have to know, okay, I know that I bought this appliance, and for the most part it's 10 years. So you just have to budget, knowing that sooner or later these things break, and sometimes they break sooner and sometimes they break later. But there's a lifetime use for these things, you know. So your next thing is your budgeting software or spreadsheet. I just use a spreadsheet. I just go online and just download Excel spreadsheet or some type of spreadsheet, and then I use that as my budgeting software. I just budget. I build. I take a template and then I edit the template, and so that I know what I'm spending the last 12 months and the previous 12 months, and then I budget the next year, and I keep going back, go backwards and then I go forward. Why do I do that again? Because I don't like the surprises, because sometimes what is a surprise is not a surprise. You could be paying, say, an insurance, and insurance comes, and it comes at a kind of an odd time, or it could come at a time when, there's money there, but it could come at an odd time. But if you don't budget for it, you'll be always at odd time, because it's not a, most people don't pay insurance monthly, they pay yearly or every 6 months. So you budget for that, so that when it comes, oh yeah, I already had budgeted for it. So the money that you could have one month, you thought you have extra money, it's not extra money, that's just money that's supposed to go to your insurance. So that's kind of how you do it. Because remember, you don't want to suffer loss, because timing is everything. And when you need the money, you just need the money, because the thing needs to be paid. So a budgeting software is one of those things to equalize the year, and it makes the year goes by better, because what it is that you just want to be focused on what you're doing. Another thing that I believe in is financial planning, and then financial planning add to that for major life events, because there's things that you have to deal with, or you have to deal with, especially if you have children, that you have no choice over, or you're supposed to deal with. So the only way to do it is say, I know today that is coming, because some people say, well, Lloyd, but you should live one day at a time. Sure, you should live one day at a time, but one day at a time for the problems that you have today. And today is when you prepare for tomorrow. Like, you think about the farms, right? He sows his seed today, because if he sows his seed, well, not today, but you know what I'm saying, like in the spring, because he need a harvest in the fall. But this is problem he needs to deal with is today. Today he needs to sow the seed. Because today, the problem today is that he has to sow today. The problem today is you can't get a harvest in the fall unless you sow in the spring. So today's problem is you're sowing. This is the problem. This is the thing with budgeting and financial forecasting. You don't plan when you retire for retirement, because today is when you plan for retirement. So somebody said, but the problem for retirement doesn't come until retirement. No, the problem for retirement come today. It's today when you're working, you plan for retirement. You don't prepare for the winter now. You prepare for the winter before winter comes, because that's the thing. It's the time of harvest is when you prepare for winter. But somebody would say, well, Lloyd, it's sufficient the days, the evil day of. No, it is sufficient for what is today. Because it's coming. And it's you look at the trees, and the trees are telling you it's fall. So what the trees are telling you is that today you need to take care of today's problem. And if you take care of today's problem, then tomorrow you're not going to borrow for tomorrow problem because you took care of today. So it is when, especially in your 40s, I would say, especially, that you prepare for retirement. Somebody say, why not in your 30s? Well, if you can. But your most money making years comes in your 40s. That's when you normally start hitting your peak of money making and your peak of adulthood. To me, adulthood is probably not 30s, it's really 50s, 40s. So it's when you start reaching that age when you start peaking. So if you're peaking in your income capacity in your 40s, well, that's when your excess come. That's your harvest time. And so you start harvesting until you see all the gray hairs. That means the snow come. You run out of time. Time's up. Snow is here. Snow start coming in on your hair and your beard, and if you're a female, on your hair. Then if the snow comes, which it came, and it's gonna go because there's forecast of rain, then hey, listen, I'm like a squirrel, right? The squirrels, they get their acorn or whatever they get, and they gather it up when there's abundance of it. They can't gather it up when it's snowing. It's already too late. So we do the same thing. The chipmunks and stuff like that, we follow them. When they start doing their harvesting, we do our harvesting. So the only way to do this is through financial planning, and you're planning for major life events. Um, which normally at the end they have retirement planning, which is specific. But major life events could be various different things along that way. Again, you pay off your house now when you're in your 40s and stuff, because when you're in your older age, you don't want to be doing all the hard work because you can't, unless you do a job that is mental. And even then, look at some of the senators, the princes and dukes and duchesses of the country. They're trying to work, although they do mental work. They're trying to work too late beyond retirement, and they can't function properly in the society. I mean, for the society. So another thing here that I'll deal with in the future, but I'll just mention here, is you pay off smaller debts first. So the process of paying off debts, there's very different methods. So the two of them that normally you go at is that you take off the smaller stuff, you knock the smaller stuff out. Not literally by punching it, but paying off the smaller stuff. And then the higher interest ones, also you could go. So somebody could say, well, I have a debt 29%. Definitely you pay that off first, right? But you could not be able to get to it first because it could be a large debt if you have a large credit card. So then you say, well, I just got it by paying off the smaller one first. And then as you pay the small one, then you try to get to the bigger ones. Or if you really understand cash flow, then you just pay off the one that has the highest interest rate, because that's where you're going to take the most hurt from. And then we get off that one, and you get to the next and next and next. But you have a plan. In other words, our life is, we're given a brain to plan, and we always future thinking. That's why we study prophecy and we study history. History is to tell us what happened in the past so we can get an understanding of what's going to happen in the future, because history repeats itself. And then we study the future prophetic wise so we can prognosticate and make an estimation of what tomorrow is going to bring. There's some things future that we don't have to really do much work for, right? Study for. Spring is going to come, right? So yeah, there's not much thinking, right? This is somebody's not saying I'm not being a genius or a prophetic or a prophet if I tell you spring is going to come, because it's going to come. Now we in winter, it's just realistic. If you have a big thing that you're going to do, well, no, if you know that says you're going to do a renovation on your house, well, there's certain times that the companies have to change out inventory. So that's where a budget come in, right? You just basically say they're going to change out inventory, and I'm planning to do this thing 6 months down the road. I'm wait until they have to get rid of the inventory and they have a sale, and I'm going to go in, I'm going to buy the stuff when they have a sale. Now what happened? You're going to get last year's design, but you don't worry, you're still fresh. You're still fresh, so you get last year's design, but you get it at a discount. But you can't do that unless you plan ahead, and it's your budget, and it's you understand. Like what I said, spring is coming. So the time to buy stuff for spring probably was when they were trying to get rid of the stuff last year, and you buy it for the spring this year. Somebody said, but you're not going to be able to use it. So what? You get it at a discount, right? It's that's where planning ahead is. You're just thinking ahead that, next year I need to change up my patio furniture. So what do? You buy it last year when when they're trying to get rid of the stuff. If they have something good, because a lot of time they burn through most of the inventory, and you might not get the best thing that you want. But if you do get it, then you're like, nah, I'm gonna hold this. This is good. I'm using next year spring, because as long as there's life, there's spring is gonna come. So you think ahead, because what it is what you're doing when it come on to resource management, you're trying to hold on to as much money as you can. Because if you save $100, that's $100 you don't have to work, or that's $100 you could take and invest, or you can pay off another debt or not accumulate more debt. So you use online also and automated payment methods. All right. So this can make the process less. Listen, if you're saving a little bit of money on stamp and envelope, that's good enough. A saving is a saving. You just become, remember, prudent is just you being frugal. Frugal, you're being very cautious. You don't want to lose money. So you approach life with all these methods in your head. As I say, we're our brains are remarkable. We can do a lot of complex things. That's what we're made to do. Notice here, cash flow for seasonality of life and events are very important. So a lot of what I'm talking about is basically you're understanding cash flow and you're understanding seasonality of life. The life is very seasonal, as I say. And so the seasons come and the seasons go. You want to be able to be a master of this. So as I say, be a master of sales. You know, I used to, when I was younger, I used to see people, they would be like really stickler for this. And they would be focused on like getting the sales, blah, blah. And then, but something like that I was thinking is like, they're always shopping. I think they're just using the sales thing as a excuse to go shopping, shopping. But sometimes what I've realized over the years, there's really a skill to it, so to speak, because what they're doing is that they're making sure that they holding on to as much money as they can. And as I got older, I started realizing, well, you always have to shop. So if you can get a discount, take the discount. 5%, 10% is worth it. As long as you're not overspending. You know, sometimes it could be what you call it, like an addiction, where just the person's love shopping. And so cash flow and seasonality of life and events make it that you have to do life and use these tools that we're talking about. Buy in bulk, these are just methods that we practice, and keeping an inventory list of regular items. So this can be a spreadsheet also, or you can eyeball it, or you can use your shopping software. For me personally, I sometimes well, it would be either budgeted, or I use like my basket, so wherever I buy, I just sometimes go back to the basket and go back a year. And so I can get an idea of, okay, what do I buy on a regular basis? Because I'm gonna run out of it, right? So there's certain things you're gonna run out because it's just consumer products. That's what they call it, right? Consumer discretionary. And so you always use it. So if you always use it, then you can always put it in your basket. And then sometime, I'm sure if you go to your basket, it'll say whatever basket you use. And I'm not telling you what it is, because there's multiple baskets that people use: Target, Walmart, Amazon, whatever basket you use. You can go to the basket. You can say, "Oh yeah, show me what I bought this time last year," and you just pull it up, and then you say, "Okay, it's on the sales." You buy it, right? This is just a way of keeping inventory using the technology, which is my topic again, which is you solve personal financial problems with the current established solutions. So a current established solution is just a basket. You use the basket, the online basket, the shopping cart, as they call it. Well, no, not the card, but what's in the basket, or what you bought in the past, the memory of it. And you just go back and you could say, either set a reminder, or you just look back and say, oh, this is when I bought this. I need to buy this because I'm going to run out. The thing is, it's a discretionary item. You have to use it. You have to buy it. Why not buy it in bulk, store it, and use it, and have it in regular? So you have to pay less, because you'll be amazed. Like I buy dishwashing liquid literally by the gallon, and the gallons, sorry. So that's how I use it. And just do a automatic feed, where it's just connected by a hose, a pipe. No, it wouldn't be a hose. A hose normally, a tube, and it pulls it up automatically. So I can buy it by because if I buy it by the pint, it's just too much money. So I don't buy. I save money on. I just buy bulk. I buy it by the gallons, and so you just press it and it keeps coming up. And so that means I can buy it and it will last me way over a year. And so I save that money. and have the convenience of it so that you don't run out. And I'm like, oh man, I have to buy dishwashing liquid. So I just buy certain things just bulk, and I save the money. So the money I save, and then the energy and the headache of running out, and then like, oh man, I'm out of dishwashing liquid. I have to go to the store. That's money, time, gas I'm saving. Retirement planning. This is not something I can talk about too much today. I'll talk about it in the future. Multiple income sources. It's always good, as I say, you never put all your eggs in one basket, whether it come on to retirement or come on to income. So if you have one method of income, unless it's so phenomenal, you never do this. You always have a secondary, even if it's just an investment way of income. This could be a house, this could be retirement money, this could be bonds, this could be all those things. So in the future, we'll talk about that. And you use these things as a source. This could be a source. Somebody could say, well, what is a source? It could be a source that you're only making $200, $100, $500. And it's just 500. Somebody say, well, that's not a lot of money. Well, it's a source of income, right? It could be $1,000. That'd be great. Well, I'm talking about a month now. I'm not even talking about a week. It's just something that you have an income coming in. And it's an income. An income is an income, right? There's just more money to manage. And that's all it is. And you just use it to make a small, even if it's a small amount of money, but that's money that you never had. And so that's how you approach life. And that's money that you could use it, or you could just reinvest the money. But it's a source. That's all it is. A source is a source. And you have multiple sources like this, your life is good because you never put all your eggs in one basket. But somebody say, I make good money. Yeah, but you make good money, you can make greater money. And you manage that money, because remember, everything we do is wealth management. And when we do wealth management, it's good for us. So notice here, I read to close more thoughts, as I say, as we're going through the year when it comes on to how to be successful financially, how to be a better wealth manager. In James chapter 1, verse 5 and 6, James chapter 1, verse 5 and 6, it says, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, that giveth to all men liberally and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him. But let him ask in faith, not wavering, for he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. So you don't want to be like that. You want to be stable. And to me, stability can simply be, listen, you don't know how important it is for me to basically not run out of stuff when I need it. Very important for me, because I hate like, oh man, I have to go down to the store. It's a waste of my time. I prefer to be sitting and thinking about something than to be running up and down crazy like a chicken without his head. So for me, the stability is part of what we're talking about. When you manage things, whether it be seasonality, whether it be the ups and downs in life, whether it be for doctrine, anything, stability means very much important. I don't be like crazy philosophies and crazy thinking and crazy teachings. None of that. I like stability. Stability is important in every area of our life. We need to be stable. In Philippians chapter 4, Philippians 4, verse 11 says, not that I speak in respect of want. I have learned in whatsoever state I am, therewith to be content. I know both how to be abased, and I know how to abound. Every Everywhere and in all things I am instructed both to be full and to be hungry, both to be abound and to suffer need. I can do all things through Christ who strengthened me. Verse 19 now of Philippians 4 says, but my God shall supply all your need according to his riches in glory by Christ Jesus. So Lord shall supply all our need. And so whatever we need, the Lord will supply it. But the Lord asks us that we have to be able to be good managers. The Lord says, I put you in a garden. I put you to dress it and keep it. With our bodies, we present our bodies as a living sacrifice. With our talents, our gifts, we offer that to the Lord. We use them for the blessings of humanity and for our financial well-being. All that we do is always, to me, in the process of wealth management, in the process of maintaining a methodical control on what we have and what we are. We always maintain stability. I want to be stable in everything that we do. This is what we do here. So again, solve personal financial problems with current established solutions. Take the solutions that are already there and use them to your best advantage. You'll be really blessed and you will really have true success in this life. Let us pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, I thank you for this day and your word. I pray that you may be with us, dear Lord, as we continue to serve thee with all our heart, mind, and soul. And may you bless us as we go through the rest of this day. I pray for Christ's sake. Amen. Well, thanks for being with me here on Revive Reform Radio. Looking forward to talking to you again live tomorrow where we should talk about natural health. Until then, I pray that you may continue to walk with the King.